This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
The president underwent a comprehensive examination.
Public television is one of their only early childhood education tools.
It was just like the finger of God came down and pow, and that was it. And people were laying on the ground.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Blowing in the wind. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. Over 10,000 New York and Pennsylvania utility customers without power this afternoon as a cold front, which is bringing relief from the heat and humidity, is also taking down some trees and power lines. Erie and Monroe counties have borne the brunt of the outages in western New York so far, including at least one brownout. Those can impact appliances and other electronics. Potter and Armstrong counties in Pennsylvania are among those impacted there. Meteorologist Kevin Williams with an updated forecast for your area coming right up. A presidential health update. That was front and center at a White House press briefing this afternoon, following reports that noted Donald Trump's legs looked swollen and the backs of his hands looked bruised. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt on that leg swelling.
The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition.
Leavitt told reporters the bruising in the back of Trump's hands is a common side effect of the preventative cardiovascular aspirin regimen that he's on. Good news for Trump there, and some good news for the U.S. economy today as well. U.S. retail sales rose by 0.6% in June, rebounding from a 0.9% decline in May, and beating most economists' expectations of just a 0.2% gain.
This report, along with the strong sales from Amazon Prime Days and other retailers, shows that consumers are willing to spend, though they may be getting a little bit more price sensitive and choosy.
That's CBS business analyst Jill Schlesinger. The debate over cutting federal funding for foreign aid through the USAID program and for public broadcasting back in the House now after narrow Senate passage early this morning. The public broadcasting cuts are really the smallest part of that rescissions bill, but they're getting plenty of rhetoric from both sides.
For many families, public television is one of their only early childhood education tools. We shouldn't be pulling the rug out of these children.
The overwhelming majority of CPB's funding flows to NPR and PBS, entities that have drifted far from their original mission and now serve as megaphones for partisan left-wing activism.
The House vote on that bill could come late tonight or tomorrow at the latest. Some wild weather proved deadly as well last night in New Jersey. An instructor at an archery range in Jackson Township killed by lightning. Fellow instructor Gene Grodsky was there when it happened.
It did not rain. There was no thunder. There was nothing. It was just like the finger of God came down and pow. And that was it. And people were laying on the ground.
Over a dozen others injured, including 8 kids.
One of the injured victims suffered burns and another was knocked unconscious. The victims range in age from 61 years old to as young as 7 years old.
That's CBS's Eddie Guadaro, who says a local Boy Scout troop was on the range at the time of that lightning strike. A potential shakeup in airport security nationwide, fresh on the heels of that ruling that ended the practice of having to take off your shoes when you go through an airport screening. The TSA may soon lift restrictions on liquids and gels in your carry-on luggage. We get more on that now from NBC's aviation expert Tom Costello.
I've talked to security experts who are very concerned about what Homeland Security and the TSA is doing. They point out we do not have certified technology in airports to test for liquids and gel explosives. It doesn't exist right now. Secondly, we don't have technology at airports to test for shoe bombs. That's why you were supposed to take off your shoes when they go through these magnetometers. Currently, there is no shoe bomb detection at U.S. airports. And the concern is that the United States is now kind of pulling back its security posture just as we have a very big year ahead of us next year. The World Cup is coming. The America 250 celebrations are coming. And a reminder that we have seen U.S. action in the Middle East this year, right? The United States bombed Iran. It bombed Yemen. It's been supplying weapons to Israel in Gaza.
That's NBC's Tom Costello. All right, still to come here on the 5 o'clock report. We'll have a quick recap of some of our top local stories for you, and then highlights from today's really interesting Faith Under Fire feature. It's all about the underground Christian churches in Iran.
Hi, I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast for tonight. Still a couple of thunderstorms and showers in some spots this evening, but overall it's a trend toward diminishing and departing showers, breaking clouds, breezes gusty early diminishing, and the air cooling with low temps down to near 60. For tomorrow, much less humid than recent days, cooler too, becoming mainly sunny, highs in the 70s. Saturday, some sunshine and clouds gather, late day showers and thunder. High temperatures Saturday will be near 80.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin. Now checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. Now, as we told you earlier, parts of New York and PA are dealing with power outages this afternoon. That thanks to some very strong winds from a cold front, which is bringing some welcome relief as well from the days of heat and humidity we've had. Between New York and Pennsylvania, at last report, about 10,000 utility customers still waiting for the lights to come back on. Though in at least one case, there were some downed wires leading to a brownout situation. That's where the power is on, but at reduced levels, which can present some hazards to sensitive electronics. Ithaca's Cornell University facing a civil rights complaint. That suit by a conservative think tank known as the America First Policy Institute accuses Cornell of bias in its use of DEI in its hiring and scholarship practices. The group's Leanne O'Neill tells Fox News.
We think that transparency is absolutely necessary to restore trust in our elite academic institutions. Trust in the Ivy Leagues, in all of the academic institutions, the elites, is at an all-time low.
Cornell says it strongly disputes those allegations, stating that the complaint cites Cornell programs and websites which the institution says are outdated or haven't been in use for many years. The Trump administration has targeted DEI practices at large universities, including Ivy League schools, since taking office in January. Well, things got a little bit foul in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. That's FOWL. Animal rescuers called in, and they've nabbed one of two peacocks that have been roaming free in the area, coming from parts unknown. Though usually seen on the ground, peacocks can fly. And these ladies tell WPVI that one of them landed on the roof.
We were in our mudroom inside, and we saw it hanging from our roof.
I thought it was a vulture or something. Yeah. I had no idea, but the feathers hung over the gutter that far, so we knew it was something strange.
Samson Metzger with Pocono Wildlife says it's an unusual and rather challenging case.
We've gotten calls about peacocks, not in that area. This is our first time for that area. I'm surprised we even got one, to be honest. Peacocks are so difficult to catch.
He says peacocks are very fast runners and can also fly for up to a mile. All right, up next now, highlights from today's Faith Under Fire feature as our Sarah Harnish speaks with Todd Middleton from Voice of the Martyrs. It's all about Christian churches in Iran.
You're connected on the inside. Talk to me about how the Iranian Christian churches are doing since the U.S. bombing of the nuclear sites there.
Christians in Iran are always persecuted. They are always under pressure from the Islamic government, but that pressure has kind of ratcheted up since the war with Israel, since the U.S. attacks. Hundreds, I would say even thousands of people have been arrested. Now, not all of those are Christians, but Christians are seen as sympathetic to the West. They're seen as sympathetic to Israel. It has become kind of an excuse. Hey, we're arresting people anyway. Let's just grab the Christians as well. And so this has been a time of increased pressure for our brothers and sisters inside Iran.
What does it look like to be part of the underground Christian church in Iran?
You know, we have just had a conversation on Voice of the Martyrs Radio with a lady who was an underground church leader. And one of the things she talked about is just making peace with the idea that you will be persecuted, you will be arrested, you could be beaten up. As a woman, she had to come to the understanding, I could be sexually assaulted by the authorities, by the police, and just coming to grips with that fear, overcoming that fear and saying, okay, the Lord is faithful. Even if I do get arrested, the Lord is faithful. Even if I do get beaten, the Lord is faithful, and He will be with me in that circumstance. And so that's part of following Christ in Iran.
Can you share a little bit of her story?
You know, I love the story, and she shared it on our conversation on VOM Radio about coming to faith. Her and her husband were having trouble in their marriage. It was heading towards divorce. She said she would turn on the vacuum cleaner so that nobody could hear her yelling at Allah. Allah, you're not helping us. Allah, my marriage is terrible. Where are you? What are you even doing? And the Lord sent a relative of hers who had left Iran and had become a follower of Jesus Christ. He actually had a dream where the Lord told him, go back to Iran and talk to your family. So he showed up, and she was at dinner with him and started to recognize, like, he's different now than he used to be. That led to him sharing his faith with her. She began reading the Bible, became a follower of Christ, and after a few weeks of her following Jesus, her husband looked at her and said, what happened to you? You're totally different now. What happened to you? Did you become a Christian? And she said, well, I didn't want to deny Christ, but also I was a little bit afraid. And she said, yeah, I did become a Christian. And a week later, her husband also accepted Christ, and their marriage was restored, and they became bold witnesses for Christ, even in spite of the risks that involves.
You know, that is not the first time that I've heard about Christ reaching people in these places that seem unreachable. I'm hearing the Lord reaching people through dreams and through visions. It's happening all over that country. It
is. We have heard some amazing stories of God at work and God revealing himself. So the Lord is certainly at work in, as you say, a very difficult place. It's not like we can send missionaries. It's not like there are churches that are open and above ground that people could just sort of wander into. One of the ways that that's happening is through broadcast ministries, and Voice of the Martyrs is partnering with several that are doing satellite television broadcasts. One of our broadcast partners, just talked to him a few weeks ago as the bombs were falling, and he said once the bombing started, they went to live broadcasts for 12 hours a day, and they were broadcasting live into Iran 12 hours a day, praying with people, taking phone calls, encouraging people, hey, even in the midst of this war, even in the midst of this upheaval, God is faithful. God loves you. He has a plan for you. And they got some incredible feedback from people, because times of war are times of questions. They're times of upheaval. They're times when you're thinking about what happens to me after I die. If one of these bombs hits my apartment, what's going to happen to me? Those are times when the gospel can really advance rapidly because people are hungry for truth.
Todd Nettleton with Voice of the Martyrs speaking with our Sarah Harnish about the Christian church in Iran on today's Faith Under Fire feature. You can catch the entire episode and all of our Family Life News original features in podcast form on Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and at FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
What we spend money on is revealing. Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. Leo Sabo of the Christian Stewardship Network writes about this in an article at faithfi.com. Here's a quote. What we spend our money on is a clear indication of what we value most. That aligns with Jesus' words in Matthew 6:21. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. In other words, our spending patterns often reflect the true priorities of our hearts. Leo offers this advice. Start looking at what you're spending money on and then ask God to speak to you regarding your choices. It's easy to slip into habits that are self-centered or impulsive. But when we bring our finances under God's direction, we allow Him to shape not only our budget, but our hearts. Discover the best Christian financial articles, podcasts, and videos by visiting our website, faithfi.com, or by downloading FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store.
All righty, coming up still on the 5 o'clock report, man versus squirrel. A whole lot of squirrels, in fact. Details just ahead.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Some changes are coming. A cold front that has crossed the area or is about to, depending upon your location, is going to pave the way for a clearing, cooling of the air, and a setup for some much more comfortable conditions to close the work week and to begin the weekend. The call for tonight, still a couple of thunderstorms and showers in some spots this evening, but overall it's a trend toward diminishing and departing showers, breaking clouds, breezes gusty early, diminishing, and the air cooling with low temps down to near 60. For tomorrow, much less humid than recent days, cooler too, becoming mainly sunny, highs in the 70s. Saturday, some sunshine and clouds gather, late day showers and thunder. High temperatures Saturday will be near 80.
All right, very good, Kevin. Thank you much. Finally at 5, it's war in Minot, North Dakota. On one side, a squirrel population that may outnumber humans in that city of nearly 50,000. On the other side, one guy pest control expert Joshua Herman, who says it's like one person standing up against a massive storm. The storm, in this case, made up of what are called Richardson ground squirrels. Their big thing, they love to dig tunnels.
I don't know of a place in Minot you couldn't find a Richardson ground squirrel. I've had calls downtown, calls in the mall, along the highways, here at the airport.
The foundation of this woman's home has been compromised by those burrowing rodents.
They dig holes by the door. I found one in my home, just like underneath my stuff, just rummaging through the house.
Now, even Herman admits those squirrels are really kind of cute, but
even though they're adorable, they make a cute little squeak. They also harbor diseases and can be dangerous to us. And at that point, cute goes out the window and control comes in.
And so Joshua Herman soldiers on, fighting a ground war against Minot's ground squirrels. My money's on the squirrels. And that's the world we live in for Thursday, July 17th, 2025. Thank you again for joining us. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.